Still rests before it's trusted. Fire removes the noise. Edges born through patience, not through rage. Hands that shake cut wide, hands that wait cut clean. Training happens when no one looks. Violence left uninvited. Sharpness is not anger. Sharpness is control. The blade learns quiet. The blade learns quiet. Force refined into stillness. The blade learns quiet. Breath slows before action. Thought bows to discipline. Instinct trained into silence. Reaction denied the throne. Every strike rehearsed in restraint. Every law studied alone. Power kept under lock until necessity knocks. War begins inside. Victory stays there. The blade learns quiet. The blade learns quiet. Strength without display. The blade learns quiet. When the moment finally arrives, no ceremony follows. Motion clean, emotion absent. Duty executed, not enjoyed. Aftermath held without pride. No stories carried forward. Only stillness returns again. Sharper than before. The blade learns quiet, or it breaks. Candles burn without request. Stone floors remember knees. Faith measured in endurance, not in sound. No bargains made with heaven. No demand sent upward. Breath steady, spine straight. Belief carved into routine. True devotion is silent. Noise is for doubt. Prayers without words. Prayers without words. Discipline becomes devotion. Prayers without words. Suffering accepted, not chased. Pleasure treated the same. Neither crown, neither feared. Balance sharp and daily. Failure met without drama. Success held just as cold, no need to be spared. Only train the gods, listen to consistency, not volume. Prayers without words, prayers without words, faith proven through action. Prayers without words. When darkness tests conviction, nothing collapses. Silence answers louder than hope. Routine carries the body through. No miracles requested, no signs required. Only the work continues and belief stays intact. Prayers without words. Still heard. Prayers without words. Still heard. The ground chosen without consent, weather rise without warning, no negotiations with fate, only posture, feet planted in uncertainty, eyes level with outcome. Complaints dissolve in effort. Endurance replaces desire. The field doesn't move. The warrior dies. Stand where you are placed. Stand where you are placed. Dignity before comfort. Stand where you are placed. Pain treated like instruction, fear law not obeyed, time used as an ally, not an excuse. No escape routes memorized, no resentment rehearsed, only present sharpened moment by moment. Fate tests position, character answers. Stand where you are placed. Stand where you are placed. Nothing old, nothing big. Stand where you are placed. When the dust finally clears, the position remains. Those who ran are remembered briefly. Those who stood become fixed. No reward ceremony follows, no witness required, only the quiet certainty of not having moved. Stand where you are placed. That is enough. Every man is walking toward the same door. The only question is what he carries when he gets there. dust was here before the name they gave me at my birth, and dust will fill the space I leave when I return it to the earth. No tragedy in that, just physics wearing different clothes. Every river finds the ocean, whether or not the river knows. Watch men spend entire lifetimes running from the obvious end, building walls around the moment they'll be asked to comprehend. That all the golden noise and title couldn't purchase one more breath. The stoic and the warrior both bow only once to death. Not in sorrow, not in terror, in the posture of a man who always knew. Memento mori, carved in bone, before it's carved in stone. Every breath a borrowed thing no man has ever owned. The body is a vessel, and the vessel has a shore. Live like a man who's memorized the ending and chose more. Ash and axiom, what remains when all the rest burns off? Ash and axiom. Marcus wrote his meditations not for empires or for crowds, but for the man inside the armor underneath the clouds. That even emperors were temporary, even greatness borrowed time. And the only freedom left to anyone was mastery of mind. So what is left when rank and reputation fade to air? When the witnesses are gone and there is no one left to care? Just the quality of how a man endured what life assigned. The warfare waged in silence in the architecture of the mind. Epictetus wore the chains and found the one thing chains can't find. The body bends to everything, the wheel bends only by design. What the world can take from you, it was never truly yours. What remains when all is taken, that is what a man is for. Now the seasons don't alarm me and the winters don't arrive with the dread they once delivered to the man I was at 5. Every loss has been a lesson in the impermanence of grip. Every death inside my circle was a page I had to rip from the version of myself that needed permanence to stand. I've grown roots in the uncertain like a tree in desert sand, not in spite of what is temporary, because of what it means. The man who holds his life loosely is the hardest man to break. Walk with that, move through everything. Memento mori, carved in bone, before it's carved in stone. Every breath a borrowed thing no man has ever owned. The body is a vessel, and the vessel has a shore. Live like a man who's memorized the ending and chose more. Ash and axiom, what remains when all the rest burns off? Ash and axiom. Return it clean, return it used, return it having been something the earth didn't expect. Men pray for light, but it was the dark that made them. No revelation ever came to men who lived in ease. No burning bush appeared to those on comfortable knees. The prophets found their voices in the wilderness and stone. The deepest kind of sacred only visits you alone. Something moves in the places where the daylight doesn't reach, where the noise has finally exhausted everything it came to teach, where the self you built for others finally runs out of road, and the man is left with nothing but the weight of his own soul. Not the God of celebration, not the God of answered prayers, the God that meets a broken man when no one else is there. The dark between the stars, it's not the absence of the light, it's the oldest thing that ever was. It held the light at night. Every seed that ever grew was buried first in black. The sacred doesn't live in temples, it lives in what pushed back. The dark between the stars, that's where the real ones go. The dark between the stars. Job was not made righteous by the blessings that he held. He was forged inside the furnace of the life that burned and fell. And when the arguments of comfort failed to fill the empty space, he met the voice inside the whirlwind, not a soft and patient grace. There is something in the suffering that comfort cannot give, a quality of knowing, not just knowing how to live, but knowing what survives when everything else is stripped away. The iron core a man discovers on his lowest day. The mystics didn't find it in the cathedrals built from gold. They found it in the fasting and the hunger and the cold, in the cave, in the crossing, in the night before the dawn. Something waits in the darkness for the ones who carry on. Now I don't petition heaven for a softer path ahead. I've learned to read the language of the living and the dead. Every loss was an initiation I didn't understand. Every wound became a doorway that I entered as a man. There are places inside suffering no theology explains, where the self dissolves completely and what's left behind remains. Something older than the doctrine and beyond the printed word, the truest thing a man has ever known and never heard. God is not the answer to the darkness, God is in it. Walk into it without flinching. The dark between the stars, it's not the absence of the light, it's the oldest thing that ever was. It held the light at night. Every seed that ever grew was buried first in black. The sacred doesn't live in temples, it lives in what pushed back. The dark between the stars, it's where the real ones go. The dark between the stars, not the light at the end, the man who walked through without needing to see it. Some men worship gold, some men worship glory, a few men worship nothing but the code they wrote in private. Before the battle there was silence, and before the silence, choice. Not the loud confession, but the covenant without a voice. The terms a man sets down inside himself before the sun arrives. The private law he lives beneath regardless of what thrives. No cord to hold him to it, and no witness to the oath. Just the man and what he promised, to the better of the both. Every warrior worth a name has drawn that line alone, and every morning tests the distance from the man he's chosen to become. Not for country, not for glory, not for anyone, still standing, I'm covenant. No ink, no altar, and no seal. Just a man who made a promise to the only judge who's real. The world can shift its standards, and the crowd can change its mind. A man without a private code is dangerous and blind. Iron covenant, written in the marrow. Iron covenant. The Spartans didn't march for comfort or for crowns upon their heads. They marched because the code demanded something harder than the dead. Not obedience to masters, but to something self-imposed. The discipline of men who chose the narrow and the cold. There's a violence in the choosing, in the cutting off of ease, in the burning of the bridges, to the versions built to please. Every compromise rejected is a muscle growing dense. Every principle maintained alone is its own recompense. When the allies turned to ashes and the cause itself ran dry, when no flag was worth the dying and the reasons all ran out, the warrior kept his posture, not for history's reward, but because the man inside him was the last thing worth fighting for. Now I move through crowded spaces like a current underwater, undisturbed by what the surface does, unmoved by noise and slaughter. Of the principles that other men discard when tested hard, I've watched the soft ones renegotiate the moment things get scarred. There's a loneliness to honor that no brotherhood erases, a cold and necessary distance kept in certain places. Not superiority, just fidelity to what I swore. In the room before the room, in the silence before war. The only enemy that matters is the man you were before. Hold the line, hold it always. Iron covenant, no ink, no altar, and no seal. Just a man who made a promise to the only judge who's real. The world can shift its standards, and the crowd can change its mind. A man without a private code is dangerous and blind. Iron covenant, written in the marrow. Iron covenant, no witnesses required, no record needed. The marrow knows. Sculptors don't add to the stone, they remove everything that isn't what they came to find. Somewhere underneath the wanting and the needing and the noise, beneath the accumulated years of opinion and the choice of who to be for others in the marketplace of names, there is a man stripped clean of all the costuming and games. Not found by adding, found by cutting, layer after layer. The via negativa, not the answer but the prayer that removes the false until the real has nowhere left to hide. The work is not construction, it is clearing from inside. Not more, not louder, not further, less and less again. Via negativa, subtract until it's true. Every mass that you were given is a thing that is in you. The gold is in the center, and the center's never seen. Most men spend their lives adding, never finding what they mean. Via negativa, the path that empties out. Via negativa, strip the need for their approval like a coat I'd worn too long. Found the cold was just the weather, and the cold, it made me strong. Strip the stories that I told myself to make the damage mean something noble, something chosen, something more than it had been. What remained was not a ruin, it was structure, it was line. The silhouette of something older than the version I designed. There is terror in the stripping, and there's mercy in it too. The thing you feared losing was the thing that wasn't you. The desert fathers walked out empty into silence and the heat. Not to punish, to discover what remained without the feast. What remained without the comfort, without doctrine, cloth and crown. Was the self before the story, was the man before the noun. Now I own what I can carry, and I carry only what I've earned. Not in things and understanding in the fires that I've burned. Through to the other side of wanting what the world was selling loud. I become a harder target for the market and the crowd. Every year another layer, every winter something shed. Not diminished, still the stronger proof of what's not dead. The further from the noise, the closer to the thing itself. You don't find the man you are by filling up the shelf. Remove the rest, stand in what's left. Via negativa, subtract until it's true. Every mass that you were given is a thing that isn't you. The gold is in the center, and the center's never seen. Most men spend their lives adding, never finding what they mean. Via negativa, the path that empties out. Via negativa, remove the excess, remove the performance, remove the need for either. What's left is what you always were. Shadows stretch across the altar where no light is ever prayed. The heart becomes a temple carved from what the silence made. No gods descend to answer when the final questions fall. The warrior kneels alone and finds the nothing answers all. Fear dissolves where lesser men still bathe the dark to speak. The void within does not destroy, it clears the final lie. Only emptiness reveals the man who cannot die. The void within does not destroy, it clears the final lie. Every storm that breaks the sky has learned its rage from here. Yet the steady soul remains untouched by hope or fear. Discipline the only prayer the darkness ever hears. The warrior walks the black without a trace of tears. The void within does not destroy, it clears the final lie. Only emptiness reveals the man who cannot die. The void within does not destroy, it clears the final lie. Legacy is not the echo left for others to applaud. It is the quiet knowledge that the dark was never flawed. No validation needed from the stars that never cared. The spirit forged in nothing stands when every light is fled. The void within does not destroy, it clears the final lie. Only emptiness reveals the man who cannot die. The void within does not destroy, it clears the final lie. The void within within. Flames rise with no mercy. Ever learn to call a name? The soul is hammered downward till it learns to love the pain. What burns away was never real. The ash reveals the core. The warrior thanks the fire for what it takes and nothing more. Suffering is not the end, it is the only honest blade. Steel is born where everything must turn to ash and dust. The warrior finds his freedom in the things he cannot trust. Steel is born where everything must turn to ash and dust. Control is not the absence of the chaos at the gate. It is the calm decision to accept an early fate. Rage would beg the heavens for a different kind of war. The disciplined man simply sharpens what the darkness wore. Steel is born, where everything must turn to ash and dust. The warrior finds his freedom in the things he cannot trust. Steel is born, where everything must turn to ash and dust. No crown awaits the one who merely survives the night. The prize is deeper, knowing that the end was always right. Forward, still unbroken, through the smoke that blinds the rest. The spirit tempered fully knows there is no final test. Steel is born, where everything must turn to ash and dust. The warrior finds his freedom in the things he cannot trust. Steel is born, where everything must turn to ash and dust. Steel and ash. Night unfolds its banner where no dawn has ever won. The watch is kept in stillness till the final star is gone. No trumpet calls for courage when the battle has no name. The warrior stands eternal in a war that none can claim. Duty needs no witness when the universe stays blind. He guards the gate that opens only inward to the self. The silent sentinel outlives both heaven and hell. He guards the gate that opens only inward to the self. Every fleeting comfort tries to pull the sentry down. Yet discipline remains the only armor never found. The world may spin its stories of the glory and the fall. The steady eye stays fixed upon the nothing after all. He guards the gate that opens only inward to the self. The silent sentinel outlives both heaven and hell. He guards the gate that opens only inward to the self. Legacy is not remembered by the voices of the crowd. It lives inside the quiet where the final oath is vowed. Power is the patience that refuses to explain. The man who keeps the watch becomes the darkness he contains. He guards the gate that opens only inward to the self. The silent sentinel outlives both heaven and hell. He guards the gate that opens only inward to the self. Silent sentinel. Dust settles into the bones. Not everything needs light. Some roads are learned by feel, not by sight. Fear kept in its place, like fire and stone. Darkness treated as weight, not as an enemy. Night tests posture, not courage. Carry the night. Carry the night. Do not hand it outward. Carry the night. Without complaint, anger locked behind breath. Nothing leaked into the world, nothing wasted. Others break under shadow, others hide inside it. Stillness walks forward, unannounced. Light reveals, darkness trains. Carry the night. Stays eternal. Carry the night. When dawn finally arrives, nothing needs saying. Weight made the spine straight. The silence did the work. No stains left behind, no debt to explain. Only a man still standing, unaffected. Carry the night. No witnesses at the beginning, no hands raised, commitment formed in quiet. Like bone, rules written without ink, standards set without praise. Failure answered privately, correction immediate, oath spoken aloud. Decay, the vow was internal. vow was internal, nothing promised outward. The vow was internal. Temptation treated as noise, comfort denied authority. Routine replaces motivation daily. No negotiation with weakness, no drama with fatigue. Discipline stands unmoved even when unseen. Willpower shouts, habit endures. The vow was internal. Years pass without announcement. Distance grows quietly. Others wonder when it started. It already ended. No credit collected, no story refined. Only alignment remains unbroken. The vow was internal, still active. Nothing needs defending. Position secure without argument. Ground holds firm. Insults miss their target like wither. Confidence doesn't flinch when questioned. No explanations offered, no reactions long. Truth doesn't debate, it waits. Nothing needs defending. Nothing needs defending. What's real stands still. Nothing needs defending. Ego starves without attention. Pride kept on a short chain. Silence absorbs impact clean. Attacks fade midair. When unanswered, control stays seated, unmoved. Weakness over-explains, strength allows, and nothing needs defending. Nothing needs defending. Stability proves itself. Nothing needs defending. Time removes false threats naturally. Only structure remains unshaken. When the dust settles, no damage counted, because nothing essential was ever touched. Nothing needs defending. Remember that. arrival announced. No summit claimed. Progress treated as duty, not reward. Yesterday left uncelebrated. Tomorrow left unopened. Only the present sharpened again. Completion is illusion. Process is law. The work continues. The work continues. No pause for applause. The work continues. Fatigue acknowledged, not obeyed. Momentum protected. Comfort recognized as threat contained. Discipline doesn't age, it compounds. Every day adds weight quietly. Those who stop explaining advance. The work continues. The work continues. No finish line required. The work continues. When others rest in stories, this path remains. No end credits roll, no release. Only repetition refined into mastery. Still moving forward unseen. The world